President, I rise together with my colleagues to speak in opposition to the President's action pardoning those who attacked this Capitol on January 6, 2021. I was here that day. I shared that day with these colleagues, and we all have memories of it, memories that we never would have imagined and hope never to repeat. But I'm not going to talk about my experiences of the day. I'm going to talk about a friend, a Virginian, Howie Liebengood, a Capitol police officer who spent his career protecting this building and who died as a result of that day. And the fact that President Trump would pardon the people who attacked this Capitol, leading to Howie Liebengood's death, is a deep, deep stain on President Trump and, frankly, a stain on this body if we casually tolerate it. Howie Liebengood is a Virginian who grew up in this building. His father was the Sergeant-at-Arms of the United States Senate, and prior to assuming that role, worked in other roles in the Senate. And Howie and his two siblings grew up coming to the Capitol and treating it like it was sort of their playground and their yard, running through the halls, meeting senators, hearing their dad tell stories about what it was like to serve this Article I branch as a patriotic American public servant. When Howie came of age, he started a career that he enjoyed and worked together with his father for a number of years as a NASCAR driver. And he worked on the NASCAR circuit, kind of working his way up from minor league races to more significant races. But after a number of years of doing that, look, he was a child of the United States Senate. He was a child of this Capitol. And he decided that he would enter the training program to be a Capitol Police officer. And he told his siblings, by this time his father had passed, he told his siblings, I think my dad would be very, very proud of me. Howie went through the academy and became a Capitol Police officer. And I came to know him, as I suspect many of my colleagues did, because he usually was staffing the Delaware door at the corner of Delaware and Constitution right here, the Delaware door into the Russell Building. And this is a door that I know Senator Murray's office is right close to that door, maybe the closest office to that door, and mine is close as well. We would come in the morning, and Howie Liebengood would be there to greet us, to ask us questions about the procedural vote from the night before or what was on today. As much as he was a friend of mine, he was even more of a friend of my staff. My staff loved interacting with Howie. And he eventually served as a Capitol Police officer for 15 years. He was here on January 6th when his beloved Capitol was attacked. And as devastating as that attack was for many of us, for Howie, who had made this place his whole life, who had really been raised in these halls, that attack was very devastating. In the aftermath of the attack, those working on the Capitol Police were put on extended hours, little sleep. Would there be more attacks? Where was this going? What would happen? It was a time of fear and anxiety and confusion. And a few days later, within 3 days after that attack of January 6th, Howie went to his home in Virginia. His wife, Serena, asked if he was doing okay. She could tell he was under enormous stress, and he said he just needed to sleep. And Howie went upstairs and, using his own service revolver, ended his life. Howie Liebengood would be alive today. Howie Liebengood would be alive today if President Trump hadn't urged people to gather to do something wild in Washington, D.C. on January 6, 2021, and then urged those gathering to go up and raise hell at the Capitol. My friend would be alive if President Trump had not done what he did. I've waited in vain, not naively, but with a hope that there might be some sign of remorse over what happened, for the pain suffered by Serena Liebengood and Howie's siblings and family members, for other law enforcement officers, all of whom lived in Virginia, lost their life as a result of that day. Dozens of others were injured, and I have waited for years to see if there might be some semblance of remorse shown by the president who inspired that attack for the damage and pain and loss of life and injury that he's caused, and I've seen not a shred of it. But these pardons are the ultimate injustice, are the ultimate injury. The family's still suffering. For them, it's salt in an unhealed wound and an injury that will never heal. And so I join with my colleagues in Howie's memory, in support of Serena, in support of Howie's family, to stand on this floor and deplore as strongly as I can, and words aren't sufficient to really explain how I feel about this, but I stand here to deplore as strongly as I can the pardons of these lawbreakers who gathered for a particular time, at a particular moment, in a particular place, to conduct violence in the cause of a particular result, the overturning of the peaceful transfer of power. And as I sit down, Mr. President, I'll just say this. I lived in a military dictatorship in 1980 and 81 in Honduras when the military ran everything. I know what authoritarianism is. I didn't live there for years like my Honduran friends, but I experienced it. I was very naive. I was 22 years old when I lived there, and I saw what it's like to have a society run by somebody who believes they are all powerful, who can change any rule, who can foment violence, who can make sure that those who commit violence escape with impunity. I know what this is like, and we are in danger of moving into the same kind of authoritarian behavior when we casually pardon and excuse those who perpetrate violence to overturn our democracy. That's a big concept, but it all comes down to the effect that it has on individual people like my friend Howie Liebengood. And with that, Mr. President, I yield the floor.